Hey, Becca here, and today on ALifeLearned, I really want to clear up a misconception about these memes I've been seeing about government assistance, and particularly this particular meme stating things about how it's not the rich supporting the government assistance program, but rather those in the working class, which is very true, but then it goes on to say that those on government assistance earn more than those who are working, and I really want to discuss that with everyone today.
Ideas are nearly as useful as what we do with them.
An idea could escape.
Ideas are bulletproof.
So this meme here basically indicates that those who are supporting the government assistance program aren't those with the tons of money, but the middle class, the ones who are working the hardest, and that is very true. But it then goes on to express that somehow those on government assistance are earning more than the working class, and this is where I want to clear up the misconception, because there's a lot of really kind, good-hearted people who are posting this meme to their social network because they're genuinely angry about this idea. They think that there's all kinds of people just sitting on their butt doing nothing and earning more money than them while they go out and work their butts off, and that's not a fair thing to think. So I really want you guys to understand that that's not true. That is not what's happening. I was born and raised in Ontario, so that's the only place I can really speak of in regard to their welfare system. But in regard to that, I can definitely say that it does not provide more than those who work every day. I've been on and off the system throughout my life. I was a child on the system because my mother used the system to support herself and our family, and then when I tried to get away from her because of abuse situations, I ended up using the welfare system to help me finish getting through school. And then after that, I got off it for a while and I was working and going to school. But then I came to find myself physically and mentally ill, and once again, back on the system. I've only ever been trying to heal so that I can get back to work and contributing, but the poverty that's created by the welfare system has been making that incredibly difficult. And this is the case for many people, but the main thing I really want to show you guys is the numbers. The fact that those who are working 70-hour weeks here in Ontario, even at minimum wage, are earning way more than anything that's provided on the assistance that we get. So just doing a little bit of math, you can see that the minimum wage right now is $11. Multiply that by 70 hours before taxes, you've got over $700. Now, that's just in 1 week, by the way. 1 week of hours, not a month. In 1 month, 1 full month, a single person at maximum can only receive $656 when they're on Ontario Works, which is the welfare system in Ontario. Now, put into perspective the costs of living with that $656. They actually will only provide $375 for your rental. So, if your rent happens to be anything under $375, the amount that you get is thus less than the full amount of $656. And in a lot of people's cases, you can't find living places that are less than $375. I actually pay $455 for all of my living expenses, which only leaves me with about $170 every month to cover all of my living expenses. That's all of my food, all of my toiletries, anything, if I ever have any clothes that I need to buy, anything at all. That's all I get every month. And on top of all this, all extra expenses that you experience when you're on welfare are not helped with. They're a reimbursement system, so you have to initially somehow find the money for this extra expense. And then once you have a receipt, then you provide that to them and they will provide you the reimbursement back for your money. But when you only have $170 or maybe $200 to work with for all of your living expenses every month, how are you supposed to find this extra money for expenses that you don't expect? Which happens in life. I was looking up things like to get a fire detector, or now they've mandated carbon monoxide detectors. You can't actually get them to help you pay for that. You have to go find the money to pay for it yourself, and then they will reimburse that money for you. And I've heard many people make the argument that, well, okay, maybe a single person doesn't earn that much, but when you have a family, they give you tons more money on welfare. No, they don't. If you have a child, they give you $63 more if the child's under 17. And if the child is over 18, basically a dependent adult, then they'll give you $111 more. That's it. And that's not very much for a single person to live off of in terms of food and overall living expenses. So back to the initial numbers, I'm basically stating that those on welfare get basically as much as those on minimum wage are capable of getting in 70 hours in 1 week. 1 week. Now, this issue expands out into the fact that we have a lot of employment issues. A lot of people can't get 70 hours a week, and so they obviously can't make that $700 a week. That was actually something I was facing right before I had to go onto Ontario Works, was having a really hard time getting hours in my crappy kitchen part-time job in order to pay my bills. But that's honestly another video about employment issues and about how pretty much all the systems within the government are structured poorly and basically need to be completely revamped. I'll get into that for another video, but the main point I want you guys to understand is that I know you have good hearts in you and you don't mean to be inconsiderate in posting these memes about government assistance, because I know they annoy you, but the point is they're wrong. They are pointing the finger in the wrong direction. It's right. The rich aren't the ones supporting the welfare system, and you know what? Why aren't they? They're the ones with the extra. The middle class, they're getting by okay, but they don't necessarily have extra. Why are they being the ones that are made to support the system? It doesn't make sense. It's basically a ridiculous scenario of three people trying to eat a bunch of French fries. One person gets the French fries at the bottom of the bag, the person on welfare. Another person gets themselves a nice little box to themselves, the middle class, working class. And then someone gets 20 boxes for themselves. That would be the 1%, the rich. Why is everyone getting so upset at the guy eating the fries at the bottom of the bag? Are you actually gonna eat them? I mean, when we're talking about money, yes, of course you're actually going to want to spend it, but that's not what I'm talking about. On the grand scheme of things, you're pointing the finger in the wrong direction. Those on welfare don't want to be on welfare. The majority of people on welfare are not these welfare queens that you see where they say that they earn so much money and you see them on these pleather couches beside fur coats. That is totally set up. That's not real. Anyone who is an actual assistance recipient who is trying to get by in life, trust me, they don't want to be on welfare. It's that or the streets. And it's even been acknowledged that welfare in some cases isn't better than the streets. This video here will tell you all about how they're perfectly aware of how messed up the welfare system is. How it basically explains exactly what I'm trying to say in this video, and that is that the government is demonizing people for the simple crime of hardship, for the simple crime of being poor, and they're not allowing them opportunities to get out of that poverty. They're dooming them to constant, endless poverty with the way the system perpetuates mental health issues and does not address the actual help that is needed. So to all those who have gotten really upset thinking about all of those welfare bums that aren't doing anything and are just sitting on their butt earning way more money than you, I promise you, they are the absolute minority and they aren't earning more money than you. If there are any welfare bums, they have psychological issues. They're not just bums. They have a lot of things that they need to work on, and they appear lazy because no one is helping them. And above all, anyone on the welfare system is most definitely going without and starving in some slight way relative to someone who is earning a working wage. So please point your anger in the right direction. Get mad at the 1% for being so goddamn greedy, and stop hating the poor for suffering, because trust me, if we could stop suffering, we would. I swear. Anyways, I hope you learned a few things from my video, and please feel free to comment below about your experiences with the welfare system in Canada or in whatever country you're in. I know a lot of them are pretty messed up and there's a lot of people suffering, so feel free to share your story below, and please join me again next week where I try again to share a little something I've learned in life.